This is every formation of animation on Odd Ones Out channel, starting now.
Brick is alive. Not convinced? Well, what if I did this?
I'm gonna do a backflip! That's
Oh, did you absolutely do that?
gonna look so cool, Brickathy!
What are you boys doing?
Brickathy's gonna do a backflip, Grandma!
Ow! Oh, you killed somebody. Hey, that's very meany. On the backflip and crash. Yeah, you're the one that's completely at fault, Mr. Brick.
Are you convinced now? Did the brick feel more alive? I mean, sure, it's still a brick that can't move on its own, but maybe because I put googly eyes on it and gave it a family, you can connect with this brick, and it made you feel emotions. Convincing you that something inanimate is animate is the main goal of the animate-or. They're nothing more than deranged frauds. For the last century, animators have innovated new techniques and styles to this medium, taking it from a spinning wheel that doesn't even use electricity to Spider-Verse. And today,
Oh yeah, of course, I guess I'm going to take a look at every form of animations that they did. Especially if I already have watched was the BFDI TPOT 15. And it was kind of like back into the future. Almost everything. But impossibly enough that they are continuing the Anime Insanity series again for a new season. I was dying to, oh my god. I cannot believe that they're doing this again. I am ready for my next series. I'm going to watch this again. I really enjoyed it. And of course, yeah, you guys would get that. I would definitely also do for next elimination, if anything comes possible. I would love to see some returning contestants from last season to 2 seasons ago. But anyways, let's get to the point.
I'm going to talk about all the processes and innovations that have brought the medium of animation to right now. But first, let's go all the way back to the beginning of film, when it was all black and white and people had to put up text whenever they talked. Early on, filmmakers discovered a very simple trick to make anything appear alive in front of a camera. And that simple trick was called stop.
Yes, stop motion. I definitely note this. I remember this in class about stop motion. So, yeah, that's what everybody typically does. Especially doing a Lego set right in between the Lego movie. That's called stop motion. I know that. I'm definitely might have to collect some Lego figures. Maybe I should.
If you're filming something and then stop the camera and then move the thing slightly, capture a new image, move the thing again, and continue to do that a tedious amount of times, on the film, that thing now magically looked like it moved on its own.
Yeah, of course everybody knows that. I mean, yeah. I watched one video here in class, and now you get this straight. If you have a figure set and you're doing a stop motion, try to do the best one. Any kind. Just to make your own mind.
And with this technique, you could make literally anything appear to be moving.
Just like that.
Anything. But some filmmakers took this art form to an extreme level and created whole characters out of clay and a posable metal wire system called an armature. Now, animators can sculpt unique characters that bend and pose in much more believable ways. With stop motion, you don't need to hire a real dinosaur or giant monkey to make a movie about a dinosaur or giant monkey.
Yeah, like it's Godzilla and King Kong.
I'm sorry you didn't get the job, Phil.
Yeah, too bad. What was that? I heard something.
I just had a crazy idea. What if we made our entire puppet's head interchangeable? Now they can make any facial expression and mouth shape possible. We will have to sculpt out hundreds of different heads though, but come on, that'll be fun.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a hard job to do that. But, you gotta get some different faces to get the right amount of stuff. So you can put it up right away.
That's why we're extreme, baby! Stop.
Yeah, extreme, baby. Oh, there's Paranorman. Just that. Only the scene behind the scene, but I couldn't guess.
Stop-motion movies are still being made and enjoyed to this day, and while new technology does help make the overall process easier, animators are still using the same techniques that were used on King Kong back in the 1920s, where they carefully pose out a character's every movement frame by frame.
Yes, and I did talk about this before about stop motion. So, yeah, I would have bet that if I were to make a Lego figure and make a movie called a skit that's basically me, I could be anywhere. Well, especially to those who really want to make something up. I mean, typically everybody needs to know that. Get the time right.
In order. Stop motion is a medium that I can't even begin to understand how they do, let alone make it look good, you know? Having a stop motion character in gravity-defying poses, making hundreds of different faces, is done solely to make the character feel more alive.
Yeah, feel more alive to that point. I mean, it's just a hard work that you gotta do for. Especially not to the written animation one, donkey. Oh, that's just definitely only me. Don't worry about that. Keep going. Yeah, alright, I'll do it.
And sometimes, to help sell the realism, animators will mimic quirks that only happen in live-action films. I always chuckle when I see a lens flare in an animated movie, because, like, where did you come from? There's not even a camera lens. Unlike me, though, who's always got a camera rolling. Hey, how's it going? Uh-oh. Oh, no!
Oh. Now that happened?
Did you catch that?
I did.
Did you see the motion?
Yeah, I see the emotion. I saw that blurry, that something was going on.
Look at this lizard eating a bug. Oh, we got him. Now let's rewind the clip and pause right here.
Yeah, oh yeah, that is the motion blur. Yeah, that's what you're looking at. And after that camera with a little stutter.
This lizard moves so fast that the camera can't even capture its movements correctly, and he transmogrifies into an amorphic blob that barely even resembles a lizard. But do not fret, dear viewer. This is called motion blur, and it's absolutely natural.
Yes, motion blur, I'm getting the handle of it.
Fast-moving objects are hard to see in real life anyway, so this blurry blob only showing up for one frame actually helps sell the idea that this little guy is moving quickly. If you watch any movie frame by frame, you'll find motion blur everywhere, and you won't even notice. So how do animators who are taking hundreds of still photos handle this naturally occurring phenomenon with things in motion? Easy, they'll draw smear.
Now we're looking at smear frames.
Animators draw their own blurry blob frame to mimic fast movements.
Yeah, definitely yes. I know that. But especially I get confused with this one here. That's something in the frame. I was wondering, I said, wait, what's going on with this one? I mean, this frame from Hee Haw, I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, I don't really know why they had put it there. I mean, kind of a little funny to note that. Well, I have a DVD collection of Hee Haws in my room, but especially I'm still watching it over and over again, so I can definitely take a look at what's going on in between. So it seemed like the background of it, while live is being held here with some songs and musics in between, I could definitely see what's going on. But now, get this straight. Who wants to know that? I mean, there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to complain that this is quite different. I'm not even sure how.
Bodies can stretch, arms can multiply. Basically, we can sneak in nightmares as long as it's only shown for one frame.
Yeah, of course, definitely. Especially everything that knows that. Also, with Sonic the Hedgehog's, I mean, flipping everywhere. I mean, man, I couldn't say that. If I watched The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, I was like a little kid as a Sonic guy. Nah.
Smears, while being very fun to draw, can look very weird and goofy on their own. But in the context of the whole shot, you barely even notice they're there. Okay, maybe now you'll notice them, but that's only because I pointed them out. And
yeah, but I pointed out in the 2 about the Goofy movie. Well, just the Goofy episodes from Walt Disney. It's better that way.
Since animators are bad boys and don't play by the rules, they can make smears out of anything. Even in stop motion, we can sculpt a physical smear frame like how they did in Laika's Paranorman, which, if you haven't seen, is going to be your new favorite movie.
Oh yeah, definitely everybody's going to be watching that over this.
Smear frames can be used anytime, anywhere. Unless you were an animator in the 1920s and 30s and you didn't know about them back then.
Well, I basically just watched the other animations before computer. I did the reaction video, so if you want to go check it out, I have a calling card up here for you guys so you could watch it anytime. Just in case.
In that case, you would have been animating something called
Rubber hose.
In the 1920s and 30s, animators were still figuring out some core principles of animation. Turns out there's 12 of them.
Yeah, definitely in-betweening.
Smear frames were used sparingly during this time, with animators usually only drawing characters with multiple limbs to show fast movements. The stretchy, wacky, and spiritually ascending smears that you all know and love weren't really used until the 1940s. Rubber hose characters have noodly, almost hose-like limbs that bend in all sorts of anatomically defying ways. Look at Mickey Mouse's noodle arms that I can now legally show you.
Yes, of course that.
The reason characters look like this is because drawing noodle arms and not worrying about anatomy is easier to draw. But like, just because something has noodle arms doesn't mean it's bad, you guys.
Well, I can definitely say now, I mean, I see noodle arms, like only one, and I watched the, oh crap, I forgot what that is. But anyway.
What these animators were able to accomplish with the technology, if you could even call it that, is nothing short of dark magic. And the very same studio that made Steamboat Willie wanted to push the envelope and show the world that animation could be more. It doesn't just have to be noodly characters with Pac-Man eyes. They were going to animate a realistic woman with proportional arms that don't move in weird, exaggerated ways. And oh god, her noodle arms are moving in weird, exaggerated ways.
Wait, what kind of movie is that? I'm not even sure what that is. Oh, it says Goddess of Spring. Okay, I'm hoping that is.
In 1934, Disney released a
yeah, it's the Goddess of Spring. I know that.
Short called The Goddess of Spring, being their first attempt at animating a character with what was supposed to have real human anatomy. They still had a lot to learn, obviously.
Yeah, it's a lot to learn to say anything. I mean, you guessed it, so.
Now, animating a quote-unquote anatomically correct human is actually a much harder task than you might realize, and that's because of the uncanny valley.
Oh boy, that is scary. Oh no, I will have bad dreams when I go to bed. Oh wait, what is that? Uncanny Valley.
Characters get more and more human characteristics, we hit an interesting point right here when something looks almost like a human, but is just a little off. Our pattern recognition brains start setting off alarm bells and go, ugh, something is definitely wrong with that almost human.
Ew, gross. Yeah, that is definitely not the best shape I'm looking at.
I am entering fight or flight right now. So if you're trying...
Oh yeah, so you would say about that, fight or flight? Well, not for Bryson. He chose freeze.
To make something look as close to a human as possible, but are just a tiny bit off, everything crumbles. The Goddess of Spring was still good practice for Disney because only 3 years later, they released the world's first fully animated feature film, Snow White.
Yeah, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yes.
Can you really blame Disney for going 6 times over budget to make this movie? I mean, just look at how these human characters are moving. 10 years before Snow White, animated humans looked like this. So going from this to this in only 10 years?
I would guess that anyway, so it seemed like, what's the whole point? Man, this animation is definitely going to be, like, someone getting a crucial out of it. It needs to be done here for a certain right timing. It may not be anybody.
How? I can't get over how real these human characters look sometimes. Almost too real. Well,
yeah, it's almost kind of real. Almost.
I think you're old enough to learn about the dangers of
rotoscoping. We're on the next phase.
Rotoscoping is the process of taking real-life footage and then manually tracing over every frame, resulting in an animation with unreal levels of realism. And I say unreal derogatorily. You're basically slapping a cartoon filter over live-action footage, but instead of simply slapping, you're spending multiple hours doing mindless and tedious drawing. Rotoscoping is not the same as filming a human actor and then later referencing that footage, like what Disney did for Sleeping Beauty or Alice in Wonderland or any movie ever because animators use references all the time. People had figured out how to rotoscope other people long before Snow White. So of course Disney, who was trying to convey real human movement, rotoscoped some shots. The problem with rotoscoping is that we start to sneak our way back to the bottom of the uncanny valley.
Yeah, I'm not even entirely sure if that is real, but I couldn't say this. Rotoscoping, all the bats fighting in between, and yes, they get it. Because they're all over it now. I couldn't say what's going on with them, but it's not the big deal that I'm really trying to look forward into.
Animated characters often do and should break the laws of physics. They can squash and stretch into weird proportions and be drawn in unique and interesting poses. And look, Snow White is still a masterpiece of a movie. The rotoscoping is fine, you barely notice it, it's good, it's a good movie, and it made Disney a lot of money. Also, how did Walt animate these shots of things reflecting in the water in 1937?
I guess I didn't see that coming. Anybody knows this movie of how this happened with the well underneath the water? Nobody? Well, I guess you haven't seen this.
What, did they put special glass over paintings to make it look distorted or something? Who would be crazy enough to do that? If you made a whole movie entirely rotoscoped, what you end up with is Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings. Notice
How? So that's what it makes sense before real.
anything off about these characters' movements? Look at how Gandalf moved just a year ago in The Hobbit.
Jeez, I did never even notice what was going to happen like that. That is like old before new.
Now, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. Almost every shot in this movie was rotoscoped, and the shots that weren't used live action footage with a filter over it.
Yes, yeah, I had never seen it like this before. I was not noticing. Oh, especially to the chicken who definitely noticing that blows up with the bomb. And anyway, so that must be a drawn character that they made, and definitely particle sound effect, and also with the voice in between. So that must have been like this was definitely a hard one to make. I'm probably looking for it. I mean, I want some connections in between of the edits, and also do a little bit in between of the sound effects, and definitely taking a look at if there's anything going in between.
I'm not saying that rotoscoping is bad. You just have to use it correctly.
And definitely the picture too.
A character switching from traditionally animated to rotoscoped is incredibly funny, and always will be. The
Yeah, it will be funny. Yes, think about it.
YouTuber Joel Javier makes very entertaining rotoscope skits that feel like a fever dream, and I mean that underogatorily. And a lot of music videos get away with rotoscoping because, admittedly, rotoscoping is a very cool visual.
Yeah, definitely really cool. I mean, some of the music videos have that rotoscoping. Definitely, everybody has a choice. I mean, that's what goes on and on.
Now, I wish I could say the first Lord of the Rings movie was a hidden animation gem, but I don't know, it's not on my top 10, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about that before real.
It probably made a lot of nerds in the 70s happy, but thankfully The Lord of the Rings has been adapted into many other forms of media, like video games, Magic the Gathering cards, and anime. Anime? They're making a Lord of the Rings anime? They're making a Lord of the Rings anime.
Yeah, now we move into anime. I mean, everybody says that. Especially for those who've done anime in Japan, they know that. But animation in America, after the Japan wants to take over and wants to share it to everybody else. Can't think of it now.
You thought Hollywood, California was the only place in the world making moving pictures?
Well, I don't know. I think it's live action scenes. I believe so.
Japan's been making their own moving pictures too, and some of them are moving drawings.
Oh, for real? Huh. Then I guess so.
There are entire college courses on the history of anime, but you're not paying me tuition, so we're gonna have to skip over.
Yeah, I I'll just try to find an animation on my course for college.
Things. A lot of early anime is now lost media because cinemas didn't preserve film back then, and an earthquake destroyed many studios in 1923. Some Japanese animators created shorts out of paper cutouts because buying thousands of celluloid sheets was too expensive, and they had some very unique character designs. And some Japanese animators took inspiration from Disney and made shorts that looked very similar to America's rubber hose characters. Then by the 1940s, some major world events happened that got most of the world involved.
Yeah, I think it's World War. I believe so.
And both American and Japanese animation studios were affected.
Yeah, of course affected at Pearl Harbor, which I know that.
But after all that, in 1948, one studio called Japan Animated Films, later bought out by Toei Animation, set out to be the Disney of the East. And they made cartoons about magical schoolgirls, and are still in business to this day and made some other less popular shows.
Yeah, of course, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, you get it.
One animator who quit working at Toei created his own company and made an anime based off his comic about a robot boy. Hey, I kind of like that art style of drawing humans with big expressive eyes. Let's do more of that.
Yeah, you know what? I think one of the animators, like Adam Katz, and of course, they wanted to tell to all the animators to try to make something, and definitely go over within between the scenes that they're doing. So probably by season 4 might be in Anime Infinity. I'm just predicting. That's only me. Well, let's wait till the others say.
That same year, another studio made an anime about humans controlling giant robots. I wonder if that's going to inspire a whole new genre. And this guy was commissioned by American studios to make stop-motion Christmas movies like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yes, definitely a Christmas movie. We know that.
Meaning Rudolph is anime.
What?
Nani? By the
Nani? Also know that.
1960s, Japanese shows started airing on televisions all across the globe, and they continued to make unique and interesting stories with amazing animations that were beloved by billions of people and grew into extremely profitable franchises.
Oh yeah, everybody knows. They really loved their anime in between of each scenes, and they done that entirely. I'm not joking.
Like, I'm talking the most profitable franchise. By the 1970s, Disney was still very much the animated movie gold standard, making big-budgeted movies with family-friendly values. Which is fine to do. Kids love bright colors and talking animals that only cartoons can offer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so too. I mean, I definitely noticing when I was a little kid here. I can understand that in between of the color reflection and definitely, you know what? I think Beauty and the Beast, that one thing confused me. I mean, how they absolutely do that? And what did Silver Spoon would have said? Consequences in between of Clocksmith and, of course, yes, Mrs. Potts. They really understand my consumption. That really explains me that I would have wished I would be in here. So that way I can definitely talk to them over and over again. And that way, Belle would definitely be my gratitude to hang along with the Beast. Well, I would have say so. Well, now for me and Miss Sweet Beast would have in common if we would both be in here. But Clover, by on the other hand, it's not my choice if I would go with that flow. But I mean, I know I love Clover. I mean, I know she's looking great, but looks like that Sweet Beast that I made my character, it looks like she's almost predicting as me. She thinks I'm strong. Predict that.
But some studios realized that animation was a medium, not a genre, and made animated movies exclusively for adults. That's part of the reason why the first Lord of the Rings movie was entirely rotoscoped. It wasn't trying to be cartoony and over the top. It was trying to be real and gritty. Animation could be anything for anyone of any age. But really, if you think about it, there hadn't been a new way of showing people moving drawings since those very early days of black and white stop motion. In stop motion, you take a picture, move a figure, take a picture, move a figure.
Yeah, definitely do it all over again. I mean, take a picture, move it again, take a picture, move it again, and then do it all over again by snapping the pictures in many times. I know that. I know everybody is doing this.
In cell animation, you take a picture, move a cell, take a picture, move a cell.
Oh yeah, that is definitely completely different. And yes, you would understand that. So every form of animation in between, like a Batman kicking the cocoon, and yes, definitely in between frames and frames, you just go right in between of this or to that face movement. I can explain it if I would understand it, if I know how to make that silk. But that is a little kind of challenging. Like back then, it was many years ago. Well, now that this year is already changing, I felt like computer animation would definitely be helpful enough to use this after writing a sketchboard and definitely a storyboard too.
Everything's just been a series of pictures moved manually in front of a camera this whole time? Always has been.
You've got mail.
Oh no.
Oh. It says the entire animation and film industry is about to be flipped onto its head forever and ever. Yeah.
Wait, so why is that a thing?
Yeah, right. I'm sure this whole computer thing is just a fake.
Now we're doing computers and animation. Yes, you get so, because that's where we're going to be heading into. And now that's a part of the year, folks. You're going to get it right.
With the ever-increasing advancements of technology, we were able to achieve increasingly advanced achievements, like putting a guy on the moon, and drawing silly little cartoons more efficiently. Gone are the days of having to physically draw everything out on paper and underpay a team of hundreds of pretty girls to hand paint every frame. Now we can use this fancy new computer to render everything out for us. All we have to do is create a real-life mold of our real-life human hand, then draw 350 triangles onto that hand, then manually measure out the X, Y, and Z coordinates of 800 different data points. No, come on, this is gonna be so much faster. Put that pencil down.
No, I mean, let's try not to do that. Let's rewind that one again. Oh, you better run that baby again.
Paint every frame. Now we can use this fancy new computer to render everything out for us. All we have to do is create a real-life mold of our real-life human hand, then draw 350 triangles onto that hand, then manually measure out the X, Y, and Z coordinates of 800 different data points. No, come on, this is gonna be so much faster. Put that pencil down. Now we just program in a couple of keyframes and we get... Huh. We still don't have the processing power to render everything out.
I guess you just broke the computer. You broke it.
Oh, I know. We'll just point this long exposure camera at the computer screen. Get these art supplies out of here. This is the future.
Well, this is the future of now. So go with computer animation. Don't have to do paper.
And when everything's finished rendering, we'll get this. A whole human hand moving on its own without having to draw a single frame. This process is exactly what Utah University student Ed Catmull did in 1972. And while it might not have been more efficient than drawing everything out by hand, it showed that computers were capable of rendering out three-dimensional animations. This was made after we landed a man on the moon, by the way, so...
Yeah, by the way, if you guys would have noted this, I mean, definitely some movement of 3D shaping. I also am taking that one with the courses also, so it's going to be a lot challenging. But 3D shaping is no better than this.
Don't tell me this was CGI. As the computer's processing power grew exponentially, more and more filmmakers started seeing the benefits of using computer-generated images in movies. A decade after Catmull digitized his hand, films like Tron showcased characters racing on mind-boggling computer-generated light cycles. This might look, bad by today's standards, but these graphics were something that audiences had never seen before. Plus, the movie takes place inside of a computer, so this is probably what people thought the insides of a computer looked like anyways.
Well, something that I wouldn't beg on. I mean, I'm not really asking about that, but inside like a computer thing, I mean, I understand it, but what if you put a green screen in there, in a box? I mean, get this. It's like inside a computer screen, like you're doing it now.
At the time, computers did a great job at creating rigid geometric shapes, and animators used that to their advantage. Characters would still have to be animated traditionally on cells, but objects that weren't going to change shape, like black cauldrons, could now magically fly in circles around our characters. Disney really showed off the computer's rendering power during the climax of The Great Mouse Detective.
And yes, I did talk about that one over here. This is what the 3D animation form does that. I mean, how did Walt create this? This is what I noticed the question is going to be about. Now I get it.
When these two rodents fought each other inside a clock tower, and all the spinning gears were generated by a computer. Animators can now make any complex shape move in a three-dimensional space without having to draw a single frame. I mean, except for the characters, they still very much had to draw those.
I mean, that's hard to make it sometimes.
Computer graphics were here to stay as Disney integrated more of them into movies like these cars in Oliver and Company or Eric's ship in The Little Mermaid, and then they stopped using cells entirely. Starting with The Rescuers Down Under, Disney no longer used cells and made movies entirely digitally with a program called CAPS.
CAPS. Interesting enough. Yes, I know that.
So if you ever wanted to own a cell of Joanna the Lizard eating an egg, that's too bad because they don't exist.
Okay, why would you say that mouth already? Can you not do that? Hey, please watch your mouth already. I'm tired of you doing this again.
Fucking sucks because Joanna was the best goddamn lizard Disney ever made. Don't touch me. TV show.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, man, you gotta settle down. Oh my gosh, James, he is losing control. He's losing his Oh my gosh. Settle down. Yeah, you better settle down now or else you're out of here.
Shows and anime still use cells till about the year 2000-ish, but eventually everyone switched to digital.
Yes, digital, I say this, and this is the longest American animated, The Simpsons. I know that. While Japan has Pokemon, that's where you just may have noticed that this is definitely a changing difference.
Now to color a frame, all you had to do was... So computers were great at making rigid, non-flexible shapes, but has anyone ever tried to make a computer...
Oh no, not a generated characters. Now I wouldn't understand that. Trying to do for my own character, that's all I care.
A group of computer scientists who were working for a small indie director named George Lucas were taking this art form to an extreme level and created whole characters completely generated by a computer. Then
yes, definitely like the Pixar thing.
Entrepreneur named Steve Jobs hired those computer scientists and made his own company, Pixar.
Yep, that's the one I know this. Pixar Studio.
Yes, Steve Jobs was one of the founders of Pixar, and he originally created the company to sell a high-end computer powerful enough to render 3D animations. But no one bought the computer because it cost $135,000.
Get this straight. If I would go in there and I would check on what's the computer thing, I would say, no f***ing way. I'm not paying this crap. At all. You gotta watch your mouth there, man. I'm sick and tired of you doing this again. Alright, gangsta. You really thinking you want to do it for the job for me so I can definitely say that, oh, but this show sucks. Nobody's gonna care about that. Alright, dude. Don't do that. Whatever. You're never going to improve me.
So the team scrapped the computer selling idea and just stuck with making computer-generated cartoons. But they soon discovered a unique problem. The computer had a hard time getting textures right, and everything, including babies, ended up looking like it was made out of plastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like weird.
So the team's clever work around this dilemma was to make a movie with the entire cast of characters actually made out of plastic. Or ants. People don't know what ants are supposed to look like.
Oh, yeah, one from Bug's Life and the other one from Toy Story. Yes, I mean, would they consider that to be plastic too?
It's fine. Pixar continued to develop new processes to get the computer to generate unique textures and lighting, like simulating human hair or fur, or lighting things in such a way to make everything appear underwater. No other studio was pioneering computer-generated images like Pixar was. And then in 2006, Disney bought Pixar. But I don't think Steve was too upset because 1 year later, he achieved his dream of selling a high-end computer. This time being a little more affordable. A little. Now,
oh well, I get it.
I want to squash any misconception that computers do all the animating. Animators still have to manually pose a character's body and facial expression off of a character's animator.
And character pegs.
Will build a complex system of nodes and bones that let them manually pose a character into any position possible. It's kind of like a digital stop-motion puppet, or an actual puppet without any of the strings. All CG characters are just their own complicated version of Pinocchio. Using character rigs is really the only way of animating things in 3 dimensions. But it's not like we can use rigs in 2D animation. Here in the second dimension, we don't have a fancy Z-axis. 2D animation can only be done by hand drawing 24 new images every second. Except we don't, I lied.
Well, that's definitely what you're saying now. I don't know what you're doing, but it's not the same thing what you're gonna get.
Even all the way back when characters were animated with paper and cells, animators wouldn't draw a whole new frame every frame. Usually, they would animate pieces of a character and paint each piece on its own cell. You remember Robin, they only drew 1 body and 5 different heads.
Yes, I definitely remember that one here. So that's the one I would recognize, that. Just the head part. Just that.
But because cells are a physical object that get harder to handle the more you have, animators could only break a character up into 2 or 3 different pieces. But now, thanks to the computer, we can break up a character into as many pieces as we'd like 4, or 5, or 173.
Holy crap, that is so many.
Have you ever played around with the free and revolutionary animation software Pivot Stick Figure Animator? If you're the type of person that says, "Oh, I suck at drawing. I can't even draw stick figures," then you're gonna love this program.
Okay, so what is it about?
On Pivot, you're given a pre-made stick figure or horse that have these joints that can be posed however you like. Each of these stick figures' limbs are just individual pieces that are connected in such a way that make it look like a stick figure. So to make these animations, we're not really drawing anything, we're just manually posing out a character like a digital puppeteer. I wasn't saying you can make a rig out of 173 pieces just to be funny, because that's how many pieces I'm made out of. That's right, me! Even I'm a rig! And can I tell you a secret? Most TV shows use rigs too.
Yeah, everything does. We know that. I get it.
Of course, hand-drawn traditional animation is still used to make these shows. It's not a lost art form or anything. But rigs are super useful at making still pretty high-quality levels of animation, but at a much cheaper cost. And as we all know, TV animation has to create more animation per budget. But maybe rig animation still isn't as cost-effective as you'd like. And maybe you're not a fan of the complicated puppet look and you want something that looks more human. Well, there's one more animation process we can try.
And that is, yeah, that's the one that you're wearing. That's definitely what the green screen might be coming of to change it everything.
Called motion.
And motion capture. That's what we are looking at.
If we put an actor inside one of these dorky ping pong suits, a computer can pinpoint and record that actor's exact movements. Now we can take those movements, slap a cartoon character's model over it, and we get an animation that looks like shit.
What?
Motion capture is the rotoscoping of 3D animation. It cuts costs, but the results are too human, and we're back at the bottom of the uncanny valley. That's why the kids from the Polar Express look so nightmarish, because they are following the exact movements of Tom Hanks. Yes, Tom Hanks, the adult man, did some motion capture for the small, nameless hero boy from the Polar Express.
Yeah, of course everybody knows that. I mean, that's what I also described it. Anything happens.
Probably a reason we haven't made a fully motion capture cartoon in over 10 years. Because it looks weird. But I mean, that didn't stop one of these movies from winning an Oscar in animation. And before you ask, no, it wasn't Monster House or Tintin. It was Mars Needs Moms. Duh.
What? Okay, I don't even know anything about this.
Just like rotoscoping, motion capture can be used correctly. Computer-generated characters acting side-by-side real human actors look decent. It's not that jarring that these creatures who exist in a live-action world are moving just like live-action people. And let's not forget all the VTubers who use motion capture technology to bring their jiggly assets to life. No matter what method someone uses to try and convince you that something else is alive, I think is incredibly cool. And I hope you think it's cool too. But maybe you don't think it's cool, and you don't care about animation.
Well, if somebody wouldn't care about animation, I know. I'll try to see if anybody does with their good animations in between. Mostly boys, mostly girls. Maybe there is one thing that I could definitely help them out with. sometimes they're pretty good at, sometimes they're not pretty good at. I mean, hey, the world is never going to change. It's going to stay the same thing unless anything happens. And don't worry, you will get over this. I promise.
You just put this video on in the background while you were cleaning. That's totally fine. I do that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, watching that thing, yeah, of course I'm doing that. I'm watching the whole thing in that time, over and over again. And that is a thumbnail that you're looking at over there on your right.
I just like learning about how all of my favorite animated pieces of media get created, because it's not always the same process. And I think it's great that new technology is allowing anyone to express themselves in whatever way possible. A person expressing themselves. Those are the 3 key words here. From the big studios that are just now pioneering new and interesting styles with digital animation, to the indie studios that have access to incredible technology which allow anyone working from their bedrooms in their pajamas to create some truly masterpieces of animation. So, if you're the type of person that likes to trick people into thinking that something is alive, then you deserve all the respect in the world. In fact, here are some cool people that made the animation in this video possible.
And here they are. I mean, these are the ones that they did. Yeah, and you're looking at it over here. These are one of the animators over here. Take a look over here. When I show the pointing, like, I'm going to start with this. Storyboard. These are the people that I always know of. And that's what they're looking like. Then the second 2D animation. These are the people that they done that. Dave Toons, you got to give a shout out to him. He done the best. All the work. And 3D animation was only Georgia Scroll. I'm sorry, I am pronouncing the names incorrectly with their last names. And Rig Animations, right over here, that you're looking at, right in between of those two. Hey, if you got a good clear out of it, you got to give that one a good credit with those two. And finally, motion graphics, you give this one a good chance. Give it to Zaid. I mean, he's definitely doing so well. I mean, you got to give a credit to that. Everybody does this. And James was helping all the groups of their workers that they done really well. They're definitely doing this. They did the best. Especially if you like animation. You might want to step up to yourself if you like. But me, I'm going to be a future animator. So I'm going to try to do the best. And after doing some shaping in between, I'll move on to my next level. Which, of course, the second one's going to be in between the After Effect and one of those in between. It doesn't matter which one it is. I mean, that's the point.
Hello, you just made it to the end of this video.
Oh no, now you did it again?
I hope you enjoyed it. I'm still trying to figure out this VTuber model, so I'm over-enunciating my words.
Oh no, you did not.
The technology behind this is beyond my comprehension. If you're still deciding what to get for the holidays, then great news. We have mystery boxes over on my website, so you can leave the deciding up to us. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go take a nap.
Well, I'm gonna go take a nap too. Anyway, thank you.
Are you still watching?
Oh, no. No. I'm done. Oh my god, that's almost like 45 minutes. Well, I guess that's it. I'm done. All right, I'm gonna give this one a successful 9.5 out of 10 stars. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much anyway. Hey y'all, I hope you all enjoyed me reacting to the every form of animation, and definitely I have my own animation in between my style poses. Well, it doesn't mean like live motion poses right in between of those, if you get it. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, you might want to check out other ones that I've done, especially to animations before computers reaction that I've done. Also, in between of making a movie, like in between of setting a design goals, right in between, like making a show here from Odd Ones app here too. So you get that mind. And also comics everywhere is right on toward the line. But if you enjoyed it, you may want to subscribe to his channel on the Odd Ones app. He's definitely putting up a great height. He is doing successful. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, I should suggest you give it a shot. Go check out my channels that I've done. I've done a little bit of animations in between, but I've done too much busy work on every gamings, which is good news that if we make it to 800 subscribers, we're going to keep reaching new heights to get to 1,000. And yes, I will change every gaming videos to my secondary channel. That will be the SOB's Gaming. That'll be beginning on August 2025. So, with that being said, if we're going to keep it going, we're going to get to 800, I'm going to make a secondary channel. So don't worry, guys. All the videos on my channel will be reduced to less videos in between. So now you don't have to worry about in between the gamings, in between. But some games are still going to be moved to another channel, while other games are definitely fun to play for. And don't worry, I won't erase those in between. I'll be moving those videos in between and deleting things and then re-uploading again. Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I guess that's it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you all again for the next reaction video. I'll keep an eye out here if anything changes. Peace out, folks, for a while, as the Every Form Animation on James's channel dial. This is Chris from Son of Beast, and I'll see you all again next time. Be sure to follow me on my social medias. I'm everywhere here, so don't leave. Come back. Follow me. It'll be great. Do it. Do it now, or else I'm doing it. Goodbye.
If you don't, somebody will.